All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. It is time for top of the morning here on TUC. Yours truly, Adul Ali, rocking with you on this fantastic Monday morning. As always, jump in the comment section. Let us know where you are watching and or listening from. Got to give a big shout out to our friend running for North Carolina's U.S. Senate seat, Michael Watley. Make sure you go to Watley for Senate. Check out Michael Watley, who is running for U.S. Senate in the great state of North Carolina. Listen, folks, I hope you have had a fantastic and amazing weekend. A lot going on that we're going to cover this morning. As always, like I said, jump in the comments. Let us know where you are watching and or listening from. So, look, let's just call it what it is. Trump is by far the hardest working president we have seen in a very, very long time. Now, why do I say Trump is the hardest working president? You've got to remember we are dealing with Iran and that whole situation in the Middle East. We are dealing with the border situation and ensuring that we continue to have the strongest, most secure border in the history of our country. And at the same time, President Trump went ahead and convened the Shield of America Summit simultaneously. While doing all these things at the same time, he puts together the Shield of the America Summit with 12 Latin American leaders. He did this in Miami, calling for regional cooperation to counter Chinese economic and political interest and to also deal with the cartels. Now, Kristi Noem, who stepped down as the DHS secretary last Thursday, made her first cabinet secretary. She is the first cabinet secretary to leave during the second Trump administration, spoke about her new role as the U.S. Special Envoy to the coalition. Quote, "This is intended to be a group that works together to ensure we're defending our own sovereignty. We're each defending our own security and economic prosperity." She made no mention of her transfer of roles, but pointed to her experience in securing U.S. borders, saying, "Now that America's secure and our borders are secure, we want to focus on our neighbors and help our neighbors with their borders and challenges that they have." Now, Trump gathered the summit of leaders from Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guyana, Honduras, Panama, Paraguay, Trinidad, and Tobago, just 2 months after a military operation captured Venezuela's then president, Nicolas Maduro, who's waiting trial on drugs and weapons conspiracy charges in the U.S. And less than 2 weeks ago, U.S. law enforcement provided intelligence assistance in a raid in Jalisco, Mexico, to capture Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and one of the world's most wanted drug traffickers. Now, you got to think about this, folks. While he is doing everything he can to ensure economic prosperity, economic upturn here in the United States, he's also tackling Iran. He's also tackling this situation with the cartels, which, if we're going to be honest, are one of the biggest threats to our country's national security. So, just a few highlights, some things that have come out of this Shield of the American Summit. Again, this was held back on March 7th, so a few days ago. Number one, which I think is highly important, is the formation of the America's Counter Cartel Coalition, referred to as the Core Military Partnership. Now, President Trump signed a proclamation establishing the coalition with at least 17 participating nations, including the U.S. and leaders, like I said, from Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, Paraguay, and others. Now, the basic gist and the heart of the agreement is essentially a commitment to coordinated, I ain't had enough coffee yet, use of the lethal military force, intelligence sharing, joint operations, and law enforcement to dismantle drug cartels, narco-terrorist networks, and transnational criminal organization, revamping the war on drugs with a focus on decisive action against fentanyl flows, human smuggling, and related violence. And unfortunately, too many Americans, too many people in general, have had to deal with the scourge of fentanyl. We still have, lots of Americans dying from it. And we got also, I think people need to make sure that the bad guy in all of this, a lot of this synthetic fentanyl was coming across our southern border through South and Central America from China. So we've got to make sure that we keep our eyes on the prize there. They also signed what was called the Doral Charter. Participating nations adopted the declaration, which affirms the right of the Western Hemisphere peoples to pursue their own destiny, free from foreign interference, explicitly targeting influences like China, imports energy, digital infrastructure, and critical minerals. And it commits to closer cooperation on countering drug cartels, criminal gangs, strengthening border security, curbing illegal mass migration, promoting democratic free governance, free market principles, economic opportunity and sovereignty. And also, that charter emphasized peace through strength and a whole of government effort to secure critical infrastructure and advance shared prosperity. Then there was also, like we mentioned earlier, some appointments and key role assignments when Christie Nome positioned as special envoy for the Shield of the Americas to drive implementation and ongoing coordination. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and other officials also highlighted joint priorities with Rubio, stressing that security enables economic progress and that the initiative reflects decisive, action oriented U.S. commitment. Now, the last thing we'll mention on this is a little bit about some of the broader strategic wins. The summit reinforced what's called the Donroe Doctrine, a modern take on the Monroe Doctrine to prioritize the hemisphere, limit external rivals. And we're talking about China, Russia, Iran, and build durable alliances with like-minded pro-U.S. leaders. And I think one of the most important things to come out of this is what our Secretary of State had to say is that friendship with the United States of America, support of the United States of America is a two-way street. If you support us, we will support you. If you help defend us and our interests, we will help defend you and your interests. And I think this shows decisive leadership on behalf by the Trump administration, decisive leadership from folks like Nayib Bukele and all these Central and South American leaders who understand the importance of dealing with these cartels. You know, it is a fantastic thing that we got Maduro out. Shouts out to the current president of Venezuela. Trump had given her some kudos for her willingness to work with the Trump administration in the United States. So we're going to take a very quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in New York with the Green New Deal scam and how that's failing. Ladies and gentlemen, you're checking out Top of the Morning right here on TUC. Don't go anywhere.
Are you tired of thinking for yourself? Sick of facts getting in the way of your feelings? Introducing Democratinol, the revolutionary pill that turns you into a full-blown, blissfully ignorant liberal. Bob used to think for himself, believe in hard work and personal responsibility, but then he tried Democratinol. Now he thinks the government should pay for everyone's unicorn rides. Climate change? It's real because feelings. And taxes? The more the merrier, as long as it's not his money. Democratinol works fast. Side effects may include sudden urges to virtue signal on social media, believing everything on CNN is gospel, forgetting how math works, especially budgets, compulsory recycling of other people's ideas, and in rare case, voting for policies that sound nice but bankrupt the country. Ask your doctor if Democratinol is right for you, or don't. Who needs doctors when you have vibes? Not approved by the FDA because facts are oppressive. Available at your local echo chamber.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are back rocking here on Top of the Morning here on TUC. Yours truly, Abdul Ali, rocking with you on this fantastic Monday morning. Listen, folks, it is safe to say that the people of New York City have FA'd and now they're effing O'd. Now they're FOing, as I should say. The fact of the matter is, and this is not just for New York, even though the story centers around New York, it has to do with places like Virginia, places like Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm at for that matter. Elections have consequences, okay? Elections have major, massive consequences. Not only do elections have consequences, but the policies that the far left wants to put in place, 9 out of 10, 9.99999 out of 10 times are untenable policies. And why do I say that? Well, because the energy policy, the Green New Scam policies that New York put into place are now trying to get pulled back. Why? Because it is going to cost the average New Yorker thousands of dollars more in energy costs. It is going to cost businesses significantly more in energy cost. The failing New York energy policy that officials, particularly Governor Kathy Hochul and her administration, are actively trying to rescind in nearly 2026 centers on the Climate Leadership Community Protection Act, the CLCPA of 2019. That law set ambitious, legally binding targets for decarbonization, but it's become unsustainable due to skyrocketing cost, reliability risk, and missed deadlines. So some core elements of the CLCPA mandate 70% renewable energy and electricity generation by 2030 and 100% zero emission electricity by 2040. The technology's not there for that. Requires overall greenhouse gas emissions reduction of 40% below 1990 levels by 2030, 85% by 2050, and net zero by 2050. Not possible. Includes mechanisms like Public Service Commission, ability to suspend or modify targets if they threaten affordable, safe, and reliable power, and drives related policies, offshore wind procurement, energy storage build-outs, fossil fuel phase-downs. Now, here's what you have to think of. New York's energy transition under this has been facing mounting evidence of shortfalls. It's in that the technology is not there. Okay. There have been reports from the state agencies like the NY'ers, think tanks like Progressive Policy Institute, and court rulings. Offshore wind only, less than 1% operational towards goals. Think that out. Less than 1%. Energy storage is just 8% towards their 2030 goals. And we're already in 2026. Overall, the state is behind on nearly every major climate mandate, with no clear path to net zero without massive overbuilds or unreliable backups. Now, the big part of this is how much is going to cost the consumer. In New York, electricity rates already 50% above national average rose 45% since the CLCPA was passed. Think that out. 45% increase because y'all want to vote for liberals. In a NY'ers memo leaked and shared in late February, early March of 26, projected potential $2,300 to $4,000 annual increase for households, especially upstate oil natural gas users by 2031 under full implementation due to higher fossil fuel prices and via emissions rules and transition expenses. It is unaffordable, politically unsustainable, and I don't think they are realizing, the voters that is, how bad these policies actually are. Now, there are growing concerns about blackouts, industrial curtailments, insufficient baseload power because there's a higher demand, and reliance on intermittent renewables without scale storage or backups is going to lead to vulnerability in the power system. Now, you have to think this out. Governor Hochul is now pushing to break this policy up, to get rid of this policy. She's lobbying lawmakers, and this is now air finger quote via closed door budget talks to amend the law, citing affordability over strict timelines. Her budget director called benchmarks burdening residents. Now, here's what you got to remember, and this is why people like Hochul, people like Mamdani are so dangerous, because they will shift when they need to shift to make themselves sound reasonable. Y'all put this policy in place. Your liberals supported this policy. And now you're going to act like you're fighting for the people to make things more affordable. I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting so that you can have affordable energy. Well, you're the ones who did it in the first place. It's sort of like with the whole Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act. Y'all ram this down the people's throats, and now you're acting like it's a Republican issue. You're acting like it's a Republican healthcare crisis. And it's the same thing that's happening with this energy crisis in New York. $4,000 additional dollars it's going to cost people if they don't rescind this bill. Now, a big part of the issue here, again, is people are voting with their feelings. They're not voting on facts. So let's also talk about this gas industry, business groups are petitioning to suspend or modify the 70%, 100% renewable targets under the law's safety clause. Public comments will close on March 30th, and PSC could act without full legislative approval. Senate Minority Leader Rob Ortt and others introduced bills to repeal targets outright, arguing it's unrealistic and drives up bills. Republicans in New York are trying to fight this. They're trying to rescind it. But you got to remember, in the legislature, Republicans are outnumbered in New York. Over 2/3 of Senate Democrats, 29 out of 41, oppose rollback, sending letters urging Hochul to preserve the law. Environmental groups warn against backsliding amid federal clean energy attacks. I guarantee you, if you look at who those folks are funded by, 29 out of the 41 Democrat senators who want them to leave this in place, they're not worried about their power bills going up. They're not worried about their energy bills going up. They're not worried about it. I wonder what the salary of a New York State senator is. Hold on. New York State senator salary. Hold on. Let me look up. New York State senators receive a base salary of $142,000, which is the highest for any state legislature in the United States. They got a 29% pay raise in 2022, and they also receive a per diem allowance of $203 for travel, hotels, and meals. That is insane. So do you think they are worried about the cost of electricity going up in New York? Do you think these state senators who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars care if the cost of energy goes up in New York? Do y'all know what the salary of the New York City mayor is? Hold on. Let's look at this. I'm going to Google it. New York City mayor salary. The New York City mayor, Zohran Mamdani, earns $258,750 a year. Governor Hochul, New York salary. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Because that's crazy. New York governor salary. The governor of New York receives an annual salary of $250,000, the highest gubernatorial salary in the United States. These people could care less about the average working Joe out there. They could care less if the energy cost goes up for you. What they are more worried about, quite frankly, is the political implications of people having to spend more going into this midterm election. Going up for re-election, Hochul's going to have to play the game of acting like she really cares about what energy costs. So there you have it, folks. They are fighting tooth and nail. I would say to New Yorkers, don't fall for the okie doke, but they're going to have to do something, because $4,000 in additional energy costs for New Yorkers is not tenable. We're going to take one last commercial break here on the I'm about to say the Urban Conservative. On top of the morning, best 30-minute morning show on the internet. Y'all don't go nowhere. We'll be right back here on Top of the Morning. Don't move.
Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com. Are you tired of thinking for yourself? Sick of facts getting in the way of your feelings? Introducing Democratinol, the revolutionary pill that turns you into a full-blown, blissfully ignorant liberal. Bob used to think for himself, believe in hard work and personal responsibility, but then he tried Democratinol. Now he thinks the government should pay for everyone's unicorn rides. Climate change? It's real because feelings. And taxes? The more the merrier, as long as it's not his money. Democratinol works fast. Side effects may include sudden urges to virtue signal on social media, believing everything on CNN is gospel, forgetting how math works, especially budgets, compulsory recycling of other people's ideas, and in rare case, voting for policies that sound nice but bankrupt the country. Ask your doctor if Democratinol is right for you, or don't. Who needs doctors when you have vibes? Not approved by the FDA because facts are oppressive. Available at your local echo chain.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're back on top of the morning, the best 30-minute morning show, something like that here on the interwebs. As always, jump in the comment section. Let us know where you are watching and or listening from. Make sure you give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, hit that notification bell over on our YouTube channel at TUC Twins. Again, got to give a big shout out to my twin brother from the same mother, no other, Raheem Architect Soto. We will be joining you live tonight for the Urban Conservative Podcast. We got an interesting episode tonight. There seems to be this ongoing thing about the Jesse Jackson funeral and how Barack Obama and the rest of them used Jesse Jackson's funeral for political purposes right after they were asked not to do that by Jesse Jackson's son. So we're going to talk about that tonight and so much more on the Urban Conservative Podcast. So make sure you stay tuned right here to TUC for all things politics, entertainment, and so much more. This has been Top of the Morning here on TUC. Again, make sure you give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Y'all have a positive and productive Monday. Peace and love, y'all.